The teasers dropped, the fandom went silent. In an instant, the entire K-pop world was turned upside down. Is Suga going to jail? Prosecution delivers the final blow.
I mean, the stakes for the 2025 reunion have literally never been higher.
No, they haven't. We are diving straight into it today. Welcome to Starscope K-Report.
Yeah, welcome everyone.
Join us as we ride the Hallyu waves, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates.
Right.
From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
We really do. And today is a big one.
It is a huge one. Today, we're cutting through the massive amount of noise surrounding BTS Suga's DUI case.
Yeah, it's been everywhere.
It really has. And we've got a formidable stack of sources to pull from for this deep dive. We're looking at reporting from the Korea Jongang Daily and the Korea Times, alongside some really rigorous legal breakdowns from the Seoul Law Group.
Which we definitely need for this one.
Absolutely. Because we are mapping out the exact timeline, the underlying legal machinery at work, and, you know, the incredible fandom fallout that followed.
It's been a roller coaster.
It has. So let's just lay out the reality of what happened on the night of August 6th, because the facts are pretty stark.
Right.
So around 11:45 p.m. KST, police officers found Suga trying to stand up after falling off an electric scooter.
And this was near his home, right?
Yeah, exactly. Near his home in the Hannam neighborhood of the Yongsan district. So when the police assisted him, they administered a standard breathalyzer test.
Standard procedure.
Right. And his BAC, his blood alcohol concentration, was 0.227%.
Oh my gosh. I mean, every time I hear that number, it's just shocking.
It is. That is nearly 3 times over the 0.08% threshold.
Wow.
And in South Korea, that 0.08% triggers immediate license revocation.
Yeah, they do not play around with those limits.
No, they don't.
And the sheer speed at which this escalated is really a masterclass in how a crisis can just completely outpace an agency's ability to manage it.
Oh, for sure. BigHit was scrambling.
They really were. Like the morning after the incident, BigHit Music issued their first apology. But the specific terminology they chose, well, it became the focal point of the entire scandal.
Right, the wording.
Yeah. They categorized the vehicle he was riding as a kickboard.
A kickboard, which is a crucial distinction under the South Korean Road Traffic Act.
Exactly.
A kickboard, or a personal mobility device, typically caps at 25 kilometers per hour and weighs under 30 kilograms.
Right, so it's basically a stand-up scooter, like the ones you see people renting on the sidewalk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you get caught riding one of those while intoxicated, you're looking at a revoked license and a relatively minor administrative fine.
It's treated more like a bicycle infraction almost.
Yeah. But the police immediately contradicted BigHit's statement.
Yep.
They clarified that the vehicle was actually a seated electric scooter. And legally, because of its specifications, it's classified alongside motorcycles.
Which is a whole different ballgame. The moment that clarification hit, the narrative completely shifted.
Oh, overnight.
Yeah, it went from, oh, he made a foolish mistake on a little scooter, to, wait, is this a potential criminal cover-up? That's how the public saw it.
Because the agency's statement didn't match the police report.
Right. And you know how Knetz are. Netizens scrutinized every single pixel of the available CCTV footage.
They always find the footage.
Always. And they analyzed every syllable of that initial statement. Because when you misclassify the vehicle like that, you aren't just downplaying the event, you are altering the entire legal framework of the offense.
Yeah, you're changing the crime.
Exactly. So BigHit was forced into this highly damaging position where they had to issue a second apology.
Which is never a good look.
Never.
Yeah.
They cited an internal communication error and basically had to admit they falsely claimed the police investigation was already closed.
Wow. I mean, it was like trying to put a Band-Aid on a broken pipe.
Yeah.
Not only did it fail to stop the leak, but it drew the entire public's attention directly to the plumbing, you know?
That's a great way to put it.
The agency just looked either incompetent or deceptive. But looking at the timeline and the immense pressure they were under, I have to wonder about the mechanics of that PR move.
What do you mean?
Well, was that first statement a calculated legal maneuver? Like, were they trying to set a lesser narrative before the police report went public, assuming they could just quietly pay a fine and move on?
Oh, I see.
Or was it just blind panic from a PR team waking up to a nightmare scenario?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It points heavily toward a rushed crisis response rather than some calculated legal strategy.
Really? You think it was just a mistake?
I do, simply because of how easily verifiable the vehicle type was.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't outmaneuver the police when they literally physically impound the vehicle.
That's true. The evidence is sitting right there in the precinct.
Exactly. But beyond the corporate missteps, the emotional fracture within the fandom was immediate.
Yeah.
And profound.
Yeah, let's talk about the fandom reaction because it was intense.
Oh, it was devastating.
Yeah.
If you look at Suga's history, the agonizing irony of this is just hard to overstate. Long before the global stadium tours, back in 2012, he was working a part-time delivery job and was involved in a severe motorcycle accident.
Ah, yes. It shattered his shoulder.
Right. An injury he endured for years before finally having to undergo surgery in 2019.
And that actually pulled him out of group activities for a significant period.
It did. And that history is burned into the fandom's collective memory. You know, everyone knows that story.
That's part of his lore.
Exactly. So seeing him involved in another incident on a motorized two-wheeler, it didn't just trigger anger or disappointment about the DUI itself. It triggered a very deep historical trauma for the fans.
Wow. Yeah, I could see that.
It was a terrifying reminder of his past vulnerabilities, and it just clashed so violently with his current status as a global icon.
That makes a lot of sense. But as bad as the public backlash and the PR bleeding were, they were only the opening acts.
Oh, definitely. The real trouble was just starting.
Right. Because the actual legal hammer was already in motion, and that's what we need to get into. Up next, we uncover exactly what happens when the Seoul Yongsan Police forward a case to the prosecution, and the surprising legal heavyweight Suga hired to save his career.
Yeah, that lawyer choice was wild.
Okay, so the transition from a PR crisis to a formal criminal proceeding happened on August 23rd.
Right, the interrogation.
Suga arrived at the Yongsan Police Station for a grueling 3-hour interrogation.
3 hours. And, you know, the optics of that arrival are so crucial to understand.
Oh, definitely.
He didn't slip in through some private basement entrance or anything. He stood right before the media photo line and delivered a deep 90-degree bow.
Which is a big deal.
It is the ultimate physical manifestation of public remorse and accountability in Korean culture. He admitted his fault directly to the press corps.
Yeah, that public submission is pretty much a mandatory part of the playbook when an idol faces criminal charges.
It really is. The visuals of an idol doing that, it's just jarring.
It is. But that bow doesn't change the underlying legal mechanics. And based on the breakdown from the Seoul Law Group, the way this case progressed highlights a massive, relatively recent shift in the South Korean justice system.
Oh, right. The 2020 revision.
Exactly. This is a fascinating structural detail. So prior to 2020, the investigative process in South Korea was heavily top-down.
Okay.
The police would investigate, but prosecutors held the absolute monopoly on deciding whether to indict or close a case.
So the police couldn't drop a case even if they wanted to?
Nope. Even if the police determined a suspect was completely innocent, they were legally required to forward the case up to the prosecution for a final ruling.
Wow. Okay, so what changed?
Well, the 2020 revision of the Criminal Procedure Act changed the entire landscape. It granted the police primary investigative conclusion authority.
Meaning they can make the call now.
Exactly. Now, if the police believe the evidence doesn't support a charge, they have the power to drop the case themselves.
Got it. So that makes what happened on August 30th a really big deal.
It does. Therefore, when the Yongsan Police officially transferred Suga's case to the Seoul Western District Prosecutor's Office on August 30th, it wasn't just administrative paperwork.
No, it was a statement.
By actively forwarding the case, the police were officially stamping it with a guilty determination. They were telling the prosecution, look, we have investigated, we found a violation of the Road Traffic Act, and we recommend formal charges.
And the penalties attached to that recommendation are severe.
Very.
With a BAC of 0.227%, he fell into the highest penalty bracket.
Yeah, that's the top tier.
Under the law, that level of intoxication carries a potential sentence of 2 to 5 years in prison.
Let that sink in. 2 to 5 years.
Or a fine ranging from 10 to 20 million won.
So we aren't talking about a simple traffic ticket here.
Not at all.
We are talking about a charge that could theoretically dismantle the BTS 2025 comeback entirely. Which perfectly explains the defense strategy we saw unfold. Because when an agency is staring down the barrel of a multi-year prison sentence for one of their most vital assets, well, the legal representation they choose sends a very clear message.
Oh, absolutely.
I was looking into his legal counsel, and the choice is incredibly revealing. They brought in the exact same entertainment specialist attorney who handled former Super Junior member Kangin DUI case back in 2016.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was shocked.
That feels like a massive intentional flex by HYBE, doesn't it?
It is the ultimate deployment of the industry crisis playbook. I mean, Kangin 2016 case was notoriously severe. He crashed into a streetlight and fled the scene.
Right, a hit and run, essentially, yeah.
Yet that specific attorney managed to navigate the legal system so effectively that Kangin escaped with only a 7 million KRW fine and 0 prison time.
Wow.
By retaining that same lawyer, HYBE was signaling to the industry, to the prosecution, and, to their shareholders that they were securing the perimeter.
They were building an impenetrable legal wall.
Exactly. They were ensuring that no matter how bad the public sentiment got, the physical freedom of the artist, and by extension, the timeline for the group's reunion was protected.
It is a masterclass in risk mitigation.
It really is. And hey, if you love staying updated on your favorites and need the real facts behind the rumors, make sure you're subscribed to Starscope K Report. We've got even bigger scoops ahead.
Yes, definitely subscribe. So he has this star lawyer executing a high-stakes strategy, but did it actually work?
Right, that's the big question.
In just a moment, we'll reveal the final verdict delivered by the judge, the unexpected military implications, and the 7-day ticking clock that could change everything.
The military stuff is where it gets really complicated.
It does. Okay, so on September 30th, the legal machinery finally ground to a halt. Chief Judge Lee Yoo-sup of the Seoul Western District Court issued what is legally known as a summary order.
Good.
He fined Suga 15 million KRW, which translates to roughly 11,000 to 11,500 US dollars. And this ruling matched the prosecution's initial request to the exact one.
Right. So a summary order or summary indictment is an expedited judicial mechanism.
How does that work exactly?
Well, instead of dragging the defendant through a protracted, highly publicized trial, the judge basically just reviews the submitted documents and evidence and hands down a fine.
So no courtroom drama.
Exactly. It is utilized exclusively for lighter offenses where the court determines that imprisonment isn't warranted. And for an idle, avoiding the visual of sitting at a defendant's table in a public courtroom.
That's huge.
It's a monumental victory in itself.
But there is a massive jurisdictional question that the source material highlights, and it centers entirely on his military status.
Yes.
Because BTS is currently on a military hiatus.
Right.
And the standard assumption is that if you are serving your mandatory conscription and you commit a crime, you are subject to military law.
And potentially a court-martial.
Exactly. So why wasn't he handed over to the military police?
So the Military Manpower Administration actually had to issue a public clarification on this exact point.
Because everyone was asking.
Oh, the public demand for answers was intense. But the distinction lies in his specific classification. Suga is not an active-duty infantry soldier.
Right.
Because of that severe shoulder history we discussed earlier, he was classified as a social service agent.
Okay, so meaning he essentially works a standard administrative schedule.
Exactly.
He clocks in, does his civil service work, and clocks out to go home at night.
Yeah, and the Military Service Act stipulates that because social service agents are technically civilians performing alternative service, incidents that occur completely outside of their official working hours are handled strictly by civilian law enforcement.
Oh, okay. That clears it up.
Yeah. The military stated unequivocally that he would face punishment under the Civilian Road Traffic Act with no secondary military disciplinary action.
Which is a huge relief for the agency. However, the issuance of a summary order doesn't immediately lock the case into stone.
No, it doesn't.
Legally, the defendant is granted a 7-day window from the moment the order is issued. During those 7 days, Suga has the absolute right to reject the summary order and demand a formal trial if he believes the fine is unjust or the charges are inaccurate.
Right. It is a standard protective measure within the legal code to ensure a defendant isn't railroaded by a paper-only decision.
But wait, let's play devil's advocate here and look at the long-term implications.
Okay, let's do it.
By accepting the summary order, he is legally admitting guilt to operating a motorized vehicle while heavily intoxicated. And that goes on his permanent record.
Right.
It is a severe black mark. Wouldn't an agency with the immense capital and influence of HYBE want to utilize that 7-day window to fight this in open court?
You'd think so, but...
Like, couldn't they drag out the litigation, bring in experts to contest the exact classification of the scooter, and try to get the charge reduced to a simple non-motorized kickboard violation?
I mean, from a purely aggressive legal standpoint, you could try to litigate the vehicle classification. But from a brand equity and cultural standpoint, Demanding a formal trial would be catastrophic.
Really? Why?
It comes down to the calculation of PR bleed versus a legal win. In South Korea, the longer a scandal remains in the active news cycle, the more the public turns against you.
Ah, I see.
A formal trial means months of photo lines, daily media updates on witness testimonies, and just a constant spotlight on the crime. HYBE knows that accepting the fine instantly stops the bleeding.
It closes the loop, he takes the hit, but the story stops generating new headlines.
Exactly. It's the only viable path to rehabilitation. And, his own statements reflect a deep desire to just take the punishment and begin apologizing.
Right, the Weverse posts.
Yeah. Following the incident, he posted 2 deeply emotional letters on Weverse. The vulnerability in those statements was really striking.
What did he say?
He expressed agonizing guilt over, quote, tarnishing BTS's name. He wrote about the profound regret of leaving a large blemish on the precious memories he built with his members and the fans.
Wow. You can hear the internal devastation of knowing that his individual actions threaten the legacy of the entire group.
Definitely. Especially with the younger members, the Maknae line, depending on that 2025 reunion just as much.
Right. And the fandom's reaction to all of this has been wildly polarized.
Yeah, we were looking at a very stark divide. Internationally, the predominant emotion is relief.
Because he's not going to jail.
Exactly. The fine means he won't serve prison time, he hasn't been removed from the group, and the 2025 comeback timeline remains intact. But domestically, the conversation is far more critical.
I can imagine.
Knetz are locked in this fierce debate about the ethics of idol privilege. And just to be clear, we are just reporting on what the sources and public forums are saying here.
Right. We're impartially laying out the arguments.
Yeah. But there is a very vocal contingent arguing that if a regular citizen had crashed a motorized vehicle with a 0.227% BAC, they wouldn't have just walked away with a fine.
Which reignites that perpetual debate over whether immense wealth and a star-studded legal team fundamentally alter the scales of justice.
Exactly. It's a massive societal conversation right now.
Well, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update, because the road to the 2025 BTS reunion just got significantly more complicated, and we will be tracking every step of it.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it?
Wondering what?
Well, when you look at how instantly this incident escalated, it highlights the intense reality of South Korea's surveillance culture.
Oh, the CCTVs?
Yes. There are over 1.5 million public CCTV cameras across the country.
Yeah.
Every street corner, every alleyway is monitored.
Nowhere to hide.
Exactly. And when you combine that panopticon effect with a fiercely unforgiving public standard for celebrity behavior, it changes the entire ecosystem of the industry.
How so?
Well, how will this shape the future of the Hallyu Wave? Will we see top-tier agencies forced to completely overhaul their artist management contracts?
Oh, like pulling the leash even tighter on the private lives of their biggest idols?
Yes. Just to prevent this kind of systemic risk. Because if one mistake can threaten $1 billion comeback, agencies might demand 247 handlers even during hiatus periods.
Wow. The teasers dropped. The fandom went silent, and the world turned upside down. And while the legal gavel has finally come down, closing the court case, the cultural shockwaves of this moment are going to keep the K-pop world spinning for a very long time. You've been listening to Starscope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu Wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.